Ruh-roh, just two of us
Just the
today.
OGs. Just
Oh,
the OGs right
oh,
now.
geez, going old school. What's up,
Mm,
Paul?
I'm here in my National Hat Day purchase, the Toledo Mud
Nice.
Hens. The current Toledo Mud Hens. I see you got the same. I know you did. Well, I know the reason I know you did is because you turned me on to this. You were like, you kept sending me links,
I know.
and I'm just like,
I am a horrible friend. I know. I'm a horrible friend. Is one of those things where I was like, let's do it. Why not?
let's do it. Why not?
You know.
Look at I feel like this is new here. We got some little avatars with the comments now.
Yes, I
That's
changed it.
Oh, you changed.
I
All
did.
right. All right.
I know.
Pat
I was
Larson.
playing around. I was at work today.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I was very busy, and I did a couple changes here and there. So now it
Okay.
shows
Okay.
their little avatars as they are, showing up.
But
So
it's also like Throwback Wednesday here
I know,
because
right?
it's just us, and so we're
Just
going full dad hat by design on this.
just you and
So
me, baby.
just the two of us. You are Ed Rivera of the Dad Hat Chronicles. Got to
Yes,
introduce
sir.
ourselves.
I know,
And
right? We should have done that.
I am Paul Caputo of Baseball by Design. Welcome to our live show.
I
We
know.
you have a great question to get us kicked off here because this is we're in this mode of like getting through the off season right now. Like how
Right.
are we
Like, I
getting
mean,
through the
there's
off season?
nothing going on.
How are we entertaining ourselves as we wait for baseball? And so it's a very important and it's a good question.
So
So
so so this is and little background, like we were both talking this afternoon, like we were talking on the phone and
yeah,
like, all right, what are we gonna talk about? Because I
you
mean
say this afternoon. It was 6 o'clock this morning,
yeah, right, this
Mountain
morning
time, and the fake Mountain time zone.
in the mountain zone that doesn't exist, that
Hmm
one.
hmm hmm
So we were like, okay, so what are we going to talk about today on our show and everything? And
Yeah,
then I was like, you know what? There's one thing that I wanted to talk about.
yeah.
And Zach, you got to keep me updated on the score. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that, my friend.
Hmm.
Because the final for the Puerto Rico Baseball League is going on right now. Los Gigantes de Carolina y los Indios de Mayagüez.
Oh,
Indios, which by the
Indios.
way,
Yeah,
designed by.
our friends at Brandios.
That is correct.
Absolutely,
So,
as well as the league logo, its own self, was also
which is
designed
a
by Brandios
beautiful logo.
with the
Beautiful logo.
silhouette of Roberto Clemente. It's beautiful. It's a
That's
gorgeous.
right.
It's a thing of beauty. It's not
So,
often that you find yourself wanting to like buy a league logo
right,
T-shirt or a hat
right,
or something,
or
right? But like,
something.
yeah, yeah,
This one I wanted. I haven't done it yet, but I really want to. I have not looked, Shane, at their roster. I want to see what the roster looks like, even though where most of us are not going to know who they are because they only play in Cuba.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
And then we'll see. We should play bingo or which of the players from Cuba are going to defect.
I have a
To the
speaking of the
World
World
Baseball.
Baseball Classic. I have a fun episode coming up in March where I'm talking to Todd Radom of Todd Radom
Nice.
Design. He designed the branding for the World Baseball Classics. So we're going to talk. Todd and I are going to do a whole episode on the World Baseball Classic coming up in March.
Very nice, very nice. And
Yeah.
because the final is going on in Puerto Rico, decided to have some Puerto Rican rum today with some
That,
cranberry juice.
that is a thing of beauty right there. I'm loving this.
Let me tell you, delicious.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
the Indios are up 2-0. Bottom 8.
there we go.
All
There
right.
we go. Although my team is Caguas, they got eliminated. But what are you gonna do? My West is a good team.
Yep. I like the Cangrejos.
Look at you!
How about me?
Congrats!
How about me?
I like that.
I actually have a Cangrejos hat that a buddy of mine got when he was there in Puerto Rico.
It is Don Q, Zach. It's Don Q, baby. I don't do
Zach.
Bacardi. I do Don Q.
So your question, even though this is a good vein of conversation right
Absolutely.
here. But
So I was like, all right. So we all listen to podcasts. I have a drive now, a half-hour drive to work now, and I was like, you know what, Paul? Well, something that we should talk about is we should talk about the top 5 podcasts that we listen to, not baseball related, right? So anything that is not baseball related,
Yep.
What are the podcasts that you listen to? And I'm sure you do because I know I do. I listen to other stuff besides baseball. You got to give baseball a break, so it doesn't get old or stale. So I wanted to know, not just from you, but also the people that are watching, what are your podcasts that you listen to that is not baseball? This is the key. It cannot be baseball related.
Okay. What should we do? Should we ping pong off each other here or
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Are you starting? You go.
All right, so the first one I'm going to start with, and this is something that me and my wife started doing again. I used to listen to this podcast, but we just got right back into it because we started watching a show on Hulu called Web of Death. But it's called True Crime Garage.
True Crime Garage. And so what is that about? I don't know that one.
So it's two guys out of Columbus, Ohio, where they go over a case file of someone who was murdered.
Oh,
yeah, they go into details about it. They break it down and they review the case and all of the evidence and all that stuff. Let me tell you, you get hooked.
Okay,
right? You gotta give it a break though. You gotta stop listening for a while.
That's intense.
It is very intense, but it's really good. So that's and there's no random order. It's just a random order. I'm not picking one. But yeah, one of them is True Crime Garage.
I think so. My order is kind of going to be like the order, the length for which I have been listening to them, because this one that I'm going to name first is one that I have been listening to for literally 10 years. Yeah. I was actually a guest on it once.
I knew that you were going to say that one.
And I might be a guest on it again coming up in February on the live show in Denver here coming up on February 2. But it's called Judge John Hodgman.
Okay.
And it is almost anti-sports. John Hodgman is sort of what my friend Chris described him as elitist nerd humor. So John Hodgman, what he does is he's a sort of like a B-list celebrity, the Not Baseball by Design podcast. He's sort of a C-list, B-list celebrity. He was if you remember the I'm a Mac, I'm a PC commercials.
Yep.
He was the PC. He was the nerdy PC. And so you'd recognize him if you saw him in some other things. He's, he's been in a handful. He's sort of a character actor in some sitcoms and whatnot. But he hears cases that like people bring against one another, like really like silly cases.
Okay.
And I actually I was brought to court by in Judge John Hodgman for two different. I was highlighted once in a column that he writes for the New York Times Magazine when I was taken to court for keeping all of my helmet sundaes in the kitchen cabinet, and that is when he ruled that the line between a hoarder and a collector is a display case, and that I had to get a display case for my helmet sundaes or else get rid of them. So I had to do that. And then my friend,
I can get with that. I can
sure, absolutely. Yeah, and it gave me an excuse to get to display my helmets. And then part two, when I was actually on the podcast, my buddy Jeremy, the Flat Brim Before Dawn podcast. That's funny. I was on the podcast because my friend Jeremy brought me to court for wearing for wearing Phillies gear to a non-Phillies baseball game.
Which I think it's okay.
The Phillies had just won the World Series. I was showing off in Dodger Stadium. I was just like, heck yeah, we got you.
Absolutely.
And so I was told that I could only wear my loathsome hipster retro Phillies cap. That was the only Philly stuff I was allowed to wear.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, I know.
You need to tell your friends to calm down.
Right. Well, this was John Hodgman who told me this. And so now on February 2, we're not certain that it's been accepted yet that John that they're going to hear this case, but I'm bringing a case against my running buddy Chris, who has told me he no longer believes in jinxes.
No, it exists. Jinxes exist.
And so the morning of Game 6 of the World Series, he said to me, "Boy, the Phillies have done a good job keeping Yordan Alvarez in check." And then Yordan Alvarez hit the 3-run home run that won the World Series.
It was his fault.
Jinxed it. So I am seeking an injunction against Chris from jinxing my own team. He can jinx his own team all he wants.
Not somebody else's team.
Not my team. So
you know what? I think that is a great case to go against. I like it.
Thank you. So that's my elitist nerd humor right there.
All right. So I'm going to go with my number 2 now.
Okay.
So my number 2 is, I told you about this one. It is Smartless. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett.
Yep.
Man, is this a good podcast.
Totally.
Because they take absolutely nothing serious.
Yep.
They make fun of each other and themselves.
Yep.
And it is good comedy, and that's what you need in the world right now. So Smartless.
So I started listening to Smartless because I was a huge Arrested Development fan. And so whenever they, especially like if they have like, if they bring on David Cross or they bring on, someone who was on Arrested Development with them and they just sit there sharing, Arrested Development stories. I just love it so much. So,
oh, the Will Ferrell one was so good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's a great podcast guest. I'm going to see if I can get Will Ferrell on my podcast.
You should.
I'll try it. Yeah. I think it's a good idea. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be I think he's a huge sports fan.
Right. He probably likes minor league baseball. We could talk to him about his Will Ferrell Plays the Field documentary that he did that time.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at the CFO.
Oh, what's happening to CFO? I'm looking at my podcast list here. This American Life.
NPR.
Yep. This wasn't one that was going to be on my list, but sort of in the same vein. I listened to Wait, Don't Tell Me. So, but that wasn't.
I like the name of that one though. Wait,
Don't Tell Me. Yeah. And then sort of in the vein of This American Life is Radio Lab, which is sort of a similar bent. But those were not on my list. That's not my 5.
Those are the honorable mentions.
Yeah. I hear that, by the way, that the CFO and you and Baseball by Design wildlife consultant Ranger Amy and I have a little road trip planned this summer.
That is correct.
More on that as developments.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
See, look at that. Patrick Larson. There you go, Patrick. Thank you. You're a good man.
Number 2 on my list is so and I think the rule should be no repeating here because I had Smartless on my list, but I won't go with Smartless.
I'm sorry I took it away from you.
No, it's okay. It was, look, this is like a draft almost, right?
Like, it really is a draft. Yeah, I like it.
Okay. A comedy podcast hosted by 3 brothers who've been doing this for a long time. It's called My Brother, and Me. That's the name of the podcast.
My Brother, and Me. Okay, what is this about?
It's honestly like 3 brothers who are like I guess you could call them comedians. I think they're like the first people I ever heard of who like the first time I ever heard of them was on their podcast, right? Like it's just like they're essentially just podcasters. And it's just pure comedy. They talk about like outrageous things that happen at fast food restaurants. They go on to like eBay and they look for haunted dolls.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a very loose structure, but it's just.
I like it. I like this loose structure. I like it. I like it.
Very, very loose structure.
If you ever listen to the Dad Hat Chronicles, there it is.
Familiar with the phenomenon of the Dad Hat Chronicles.
Anything goes.
So yeah. So I'm actually on my podcast app.
That's what I'm at. I'm literally on my podcast app.
I started following that one in October of 2014. It says.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. All right.
Yeah.
My number 3.
Okay.
And I'm about to go into the geek world here, guys.
Ooh,
okay.
Like this.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Okay, so I'll give you 2 of them because one no longer exists, but it needs to be mentioned because it was a great podcast and they talked about it. But Jabba the Pod.
I've heard of that. I've never listened to it, but I've heard of it.
Jabba the Pod is a podcast about Star Wars, right? I'm a huge Star Wars fan. It ended in 2021, RIP. But that one was good. And then of course, Children of the Watch, right? Mm-hmm. Mandalorian after show. So it's a good one. They talk about the show. I love these podcasts where they talk about the episode, right? I've always wanted to do that and do a podcast where we sit down and we review an episode because I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
You talk about that. You know what, Paul? You and me, we should do that one day.
We should do a podcast.
Let's do it. I
like this idea.
Right? But
that's good.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so talking about Star Wars, upcoming shows, these news and toys and all this stuff. So yeah,
I'm glad to know this about you. I'm a big Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars fan too. I don't think that like I'm smart enough to be as into like the mythology, right? Like like I'll sit down and watch Star Wars with like a real Star Wars fan and they'll be like, that was the guy who was in the background when Grebo shot first.
Yeah,
and
I'm not that in depth. So I think you and me are on the same level when it comes to like the level of fandomness.
Yeah.
I do have Legos that are Star Wars. I got my Funko Pops and all this other stuff.
Sure.
But I'm with you there.
The season 3 of The Mandalorian. There's a trailer.
Hey, I already watched the trailer like 3 times. Not gonna lie to you.
I will tell you, the episode 7, 8, 9, in particular, like episode 7. I watched the trailer for that like 50 times. I was watching it like I rewatched Bryce Harper's home run against San Diego. It's I was just like, I was so like smitten with that trailer. Sometimes I'll still go back and like watch those. Yeah, I love movie trailers. I'm a huge movie trailer
If
fan.
anybody, I gotta stop here because if anybody has seen this on HBO, it's called Chernobyl.
Yeah.
The show, it was like they did a limited series on what happened in Chernobyl.
Yeah.
So they also did a podcast on it.
Oh.
And they broke it down. And man, listen, guys got to watch the show first. And then after each episode, listen to the podcast. Let me tell you, it is unreal.
All right.
So good.
Sounds good. We got some listening to do on our road trip.
Listen, we got
7 hours of driving.
7 hours of driving?
Yeah.
I like it.
All right.
I like it.
I don't. Have you bought any Star Wars Night MILB stuff?
I haven't, which is weird, right?
I don't own a lot of jerseys.
I only have a couple of jerseys, to be honest with you. I don't have any Star Wars stuff. I do want to buy some Star Wars hats.
Yeah.
Right? But I have not been able to find one in a dad hat form. So
Ranger Amy had a funny thing where she was on Facebook and she saw someone was like giving away a Serpientes, a Diamondbacks Serpientes jersey. And it was just in plastic, and they're like, it's on the porch. And she's like, oh, too bad this is an extra large and you wear a large. Otherwise, I'd grab it for you. And I was just like, you get over there and you grab it. It's like,
you go right now.
You go get. So she did. And I got a free Serpientes jersey. It's not even like a giveaway. It's like a replica jersey. I was just like,
no kidding. Dude, frame that sucker.
Somebody's just giving it away. And she's like, oh, well, maybe you could give it to someone who it will fit. I was just like, this is my jersey right now.
What are you talking about? Someone can use it. Fit. No,
it fits fine.
Listen, let's not relive the whole manatees thing again. No, you keep that sucker. You hear me?
Donnie has the Firefly Star Wars.
Look at you, Fireflies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I got another one.
Okay.
So, talking about rewatching episodes here. You're gonna see a track with me where, I'm not necessarily like the most like cerebral guy in the world when it comes to non baseball. My entertainment is my entertainment here, right? So
listen, we all need it. Okay?
Right.
We all need it.
We do. I will have one at the end that's a little bit of a twist. But my third podcast is Fake Doctors, Real Friends, which is Zach Braff and Donald Faison, who were the co-stars of the TV show Scrubs.
Yep.
And they're doing a Scrubs rewatch podcast, and Scrubs is continues.
Wait. They're rewatching
their own show.
Like
20 years after the fact.
This is great.
It's amazing. And and they bring in like their co-stars come in as guests. And so you would actually, Ed, like this because Donald Faison, who plays Turk in Scrubs.
Yep.
And one of the producers whose name I've forgotten, but the both of them are huge Star Wars fans. So they will get completely derailed during these episodes, and they'll talk about like obscure Star Wars stuff for like 15 minutes.
Amazing.
And then Zach Braff will be sitting there all quiet, and then he'll just be like, "All right, now back to Scrubs." And so there you go, Darla. Scrubs, Arrested Development, just so good.
Listen, okay, so we need to pick a show. Seriously, let's pick a show.
Okay.
All right. We'll each watch it. Huh?
Brockmire.
Done.
Okay, we got a Brockmire rewatch podcast.
Do it. Let's do it. 3 seasons of it. It's a limited series of Brockmire. Oh my God, this is going to be great.
We're going to do a Brockmire. Like, okay. Here,
Done.
I'm going to Twitter with this.
Done. Let's do it. This is going to be amazing. All right. So that's your number. What was it? Your number?
That was 3.
That was 3. Okay. Number 4 for me, believe it or not,
okay,
is actually the Jim Brockmire podcast.
That's awesome.
Jim Brockmire podcast. Have you ever I turned you onto this one as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's great.
Let me tell you, it is amazing.
It is amazing. It's a very good podcast.
When Hank does his own voice of Jim Brockmire, right? And he keeps it even with Joe Buck, right? Because Joe Buck was in there.
Uh-huh.
Man, how good was that?
I was just going to say the Brockmire show, I think, went a long way towards rehabilitating Joe Buck's reputation, because like people get annoyed with Joe Buck very easily and they get really frustrated. And then he comes on a show like this and makes fun of himself. And it's like, how can you dislike him?
Not only that, but on the podcast, he says, honestly, I don't care what people think about me. And I don't know what it was about that comment when he said that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people think I'm going to root for their own team, for the opposite team. I get it. He was a Cardinals fan. So whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what it is about him. I eased up on him.
Yeah, I did too.
As Darla, though, she still hates the guy.
Oh, Darla doesn't like.
Okay. All right. Not like Joe Buck.
Well, he was very funny on the Brockmire podcast. I would love to see the Brockmire podcast come back, right? Like, I mean, it's been a couple of years since
we need to do it. We need to do bring Brockmire back.
Yeah. Well, maybe
if it's a podcast,
maybe this podcast will do that. Maybe we'll get Hank Azaria on as a guest on the podcast here.
I'm with you, 100% with you.
Too funny.
Or Amanda Pete was obviously who played, the girlfriend and owner of the team.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
She's great.
All right.
She's great.
Your turn.
Number 4, kind of in keeping with Smartless, I think a little bit.
Okay.
And my appreciation of a good comedy podcast is Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
I heard it was really good.
It's very good. He is a he's a very good sort of long form interviewer, and he's got great guests on there, and it's
very on brand for him, who's super smart.
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, it's funny. He's very, very smart. He's super into history, which is sort of an interesting take on it. And he's had like really high level. I mean, he's had both Barack Obama and Michelle Obama on as guests. But then he also has, he has directors. He's big into music, and so he has musicians on a lot. But mostly it's sort of like actors. It's Hollywood actors, and
of course.
And so it's always fun because you usually know the person that he's talking to. And so I have always thought that Conan O'Brien was very funny. So when
I've always thought he was a funny dude.
Yeah,
always liked them.
Yeah,
I like that one. Okay,
all right, that's 4.
All right, we're gonna probably keep going with like what we have on the list, but whatever.
That's fine.
All right. So number 5 for me, and this is gonna be coming back because of they're bringing season 2, but a show on Apple TV Plus called Foundation. Foundation, the official podcast.
Okay.
Same thing. Reviewing the episode, going over it, doing some interpretations and things like that. And man, as you can tell already by now, I am a fan of the sci-fi genre.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Me too.
Love
my very favorite genre of sci-fi is time travel. I love time travel stuff.
Man, this is how much of a dork I am. I used to love the show Firefly.
Oh yeah, that doesn't make you a dork. That was a very popular show. People like
as my wife. As my wife, if I'm a dork, and then we'll go from there.
I think Darla might be. She will lovingly call you a dork affectionately.
She married it. Can't take it back now.
She married a dork. It's well, in my experience, you can take that back, but let's not get into that.
I just bit the ice.
Sorry.
But yeah, Foundation, really good. The books are amazing.
Okay.
They're really long. They're very, like they're talking about like, and mind you, this was written in the 30s and 40s, so it was, super good book, but gotta watch the show because it was finally brought into, TV, and they needed to wait until now because of all of the graphics that was needed in order to create this show. And let me tell you, it was amazing.
Okay. You know what there needs to be? You got me thinking about this with sci-fi stuff here. There needs to be a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Here's the CFO just says,
yeah, told you. You're not a dork for loving Firefly. Hey, listen, thank you, Virgil. You're my man, boy. You're my boy, Blue.
So I found, by the way, that I was able to nerd out enough to in a podcast to make Amy cut short listening to some of the podcasts that she's like, I love your podcast. She's like, you're great, et cetera, et cetera. She's like, but when you and Todd Radom were talking about interlocking letter logos for 45 minutes, she's like, I might have skipped a little bit of that one. I was like, you do not have the power of the nerd.
You are not a nerd.
Pat Larson says you're cool. And Pat Larson is very parsimonious with his compliments of people.
Love you, buddy.
All right, number 5 for me is going to be a complete departure. I'm going completely the other direction. I've been sort of it's all like pop culture and celebrities and comedy so far. My number 5 is called Hidden Brain. Okay. And it is essentially like a psychologist and a researcher named Shanka Verdante, who talks about like the inner workings of the brain, right? Like and sort of like it's almost like a therapy session in a podcast, right? Like it's really just sort of an interesting way to. It's funny. There can only be one Highlander podcast. It's probably true. That's a funny line, Philip.
I like it, Philip. Good job. Good job.
Also, I think it was Philip earlier who said, if you know, you know, when he said Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. I know Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. Parsimonious Pat. So anyway, yeah, Hidden Brain is a very serious podcast, research-based, all about just sort of like how our own brains work. And, like a recent one that he just did was on the art of complaining.
Interesting.
And how we tend to seek out people who are going to affirm our complaints. And that doesn't help us because all they're doing is exacerbating the frustration that we already feel. Whereas if you complain to someone who's willing to challenge you a little bit on, what you're complaining about, it helps you see another perspective and maybe not quite be so frustrated about it. So that was just sort of one example of a recent episode. And I like it. It's a podcast that a friend turned me on to, and I started listening to it, and I was like, oh, I got so many podcasts already, and it's so hard to like introduce a new one into the rotation.
It's hard.
I listened, and then I listened to one episode, and I was just like, okay, I got to make room.
All
this
right,
is why, though. This is why I have a queue right now that is like 50 episodes long because I've got all these shows.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Right? It's it's hard to listen to them, and with my new position at work, it's harder to listen to podcasts at work. And
you're like me. When you go running, you listen to them.
I run them, except for that I've been running with a friend. So it's
you better tell your friend to calm down. Shut up. I'm listening.
You pipe down. We got a podcast to listen to. you got to learn about the Montgomery biscuits today.
Oh, Matt, listen. This is how I started a conversation with you this morning.
You were mad. This was the 6 a.m. conversation today.
Yeah, I was so pissed off at you because I'm listening to the Montgomery biscuits and I'm super hungry. I'm like, man, I want a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit right now.
You probably drove past a couple of Hardee's on your way to work.
I passed the McDonald's and I'm like, bro, if I wasn't that I was going to be late for work, I would have stopped and gotten one.
Well, so I promised myself a long time ago when I started a podcast that I was never going to eat on the podcast. Like,
I don't care.
For me, it I can't it just sort of grosses me out to hear that. Am I killing
you right now with me eating this?
I didn't even actually notice you reading. What is it, like sunflower seeds?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that doesn't count. But like something like where you're like actually like chewing or whatever.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No. So anyway, so I'm with my buddy, with my friend Elizabeth over at her commercial kitchen there, and there's all these people like in the background, and I sort of love like the pots and pans banging in the background.
Oh, dude, it was such a great episode.
The ambient noise. It was really fun to do, and it really was like there was like 8 inches of snow on the ground, and she's like, "Would you rather just do it by Zoom?" And I'm like, "No." I was like, "I'm coming over there with my mic.
I'm coming over."
Yeah, and so I get there, and she has this like tray of biscuits, and I was just like, "Come on."
Oh my god.
So she's her boyfriend is like this guy who is like super baseball fan. He's like, and he knows, just stuff that goes like way back. And
listen, good connection.
That's what I'm saying.
And baseball.
Right. And he has like a sort of like a wood carving business. And one of his specialties is he does baseball card cabinets.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. It's actually very cool. I should have him on the show sometime, or you should have him on your show.
You know what?
Sometime.
Let's talk offline.
Okay.
We'll set it up.
Pat. Yeah, that would actually be great.
Pat, I'm going to challenge you right now.
Say something unkind.
Say something unkind. Say something mean.
Pat, what was your least favorite episode of both of our podcasts?
Because there is. I don't care. We can be the best friends, and I can tell you I have some bad ones in there. Yeah. So don't lie to me.
Your Mike wants to know.
What? Mike, congratulations.
Mike came in late. Mike was the first one to notice here. Yeah, we when Anna told us that she couldn't make it tonight, she's actually robbing a bank. She's busy robbing a bank right now, and told us we might have to come bail her out.
Yep.
Episode 0. It's like patient 0.
Lies.
But yeah, when she said she couldn't make it, we're like, okay, it's the OG. It's back to Dad by Design. Yep. But you'll notice the background has
exactly.
Here, so we're not rebranding. We're
just doing it for tonight.
Yeah.
Just because.
So Hidden Brain, that was my number 5 here.
I like it.
I can keep going all night, but
all right. So I got another one for you.
Yeah.
And this one, it goes through the same one as True Crime Garage, Truth and Justice.
Okay.
I found it because of the show. The one I told you about on Hulu.
Yeah.
Man, listen, this dude has a podcast voice. You know when you have a podcast voice, you have it. So this is pretty much, he does the same thing. He used to be an arson investigator, right?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he goes through crime scenes, and he studies the whole thing of, all right, this is what happened. Let's go over it bit by bit, and let me tell you, hooked.
And he's got the podcast voice.
He does.
Yeah, I've been told I have a podcast face.
Me too. I got a face for radio.
Right? Exactly. All right, and so that one was called again. What? That was called
Truth and Truth and Justice.
Truth and Justice. You know what we should have been doing? We should have been listing these on the feed on Twitter and tagging them as we were going. Could have.
Well, we should have.
Pat says he's had bad episodes of the Hat History series.
What?
I don't know.
I'll be honest with you. Listen, your Hat History series, okay? I like it because I'm always learning something new. I'm also mad at you
because you want to buy hats.
Because I want to buy the hat.
Yeah.
And I get mad because they don't have it in a Dad hat.
Football isn't entirely his jam. Give the people what they want, Ed. We want baseball. We want all baseball all the time.
Give the people what they want.
Coming, man. I've had episodes of my own podcast that I didn't think were as good as I want them to be.
True story.
All right. Okay. So truth or consequences, truth or dare, truth or justice.
Truth and justice.
Truth and justice. Okay. I'm going for a 6 here. Like, why not? Right?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah. Another one from this. So I mentioned John Hodgman. I mentioned my brother and me. Those are both from an organization, a nonprofit organization called Maximum Fun.
Okay.
Which it's a podcast network. It's actually one of the things that sort of got me thinking about Curve Brim Media was this whole notion of a podcast network. But one of the very first podcasts that was on there is 2 Canadian comedians, both based in Vancouver, who interview other comedians, but not like huge names. It's people who, are comedians by day or, comedians by night, but like work at the Blockbuster during the day or whatever.
Ooh, I like it.
Probably not Blockbuster, but, and it's called Stop Podcasting Yourself.
I like it.
It was one of the very first podcasts I ever even heard of, right? Like, it was just I hadn't even, heard of podcasts really before this. And so, that was one of the first ones I ever started listening to.
All right. I want to hear some of the podcasts that people would like for us to listen to. Also, I want to hear suggestions on what our new podcast, joint podcast, is going to be. I want to know the name. We're going to be doing a Brock Meyer podcast, right?
Yeah.
But we want to know. We want suggestions on the name of the podcast.
Yeah, I like this. I like this idea. A lot of cursing in that show, huh?
A lot. Let me tell you how great that is. I mean, we got to watch the full. We got to watch it, and then you got to take notes and everything, and then we'll discuss it on the episode.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
All right. What's your number 6 then? Are we keeping on here?
Yeah, let's keep going. I'm going to see what I have.
All right.
Out of my shows here.
Okay.
This is going to be something that's going to be hilarious, but so the site that I use for hosting my podcast is Swear by Brockmeyer. It's called Buzzsprout, right?
Buzzsprout.
So Buzzsprout, they have their own podcast. It's called Buzzcast, in which they go in and they talk about things that are going on in the podcasting world.
Yeah.
With Apple Podcasts, with Spotify. Like I knew a lot of stuff already that was coming down the pipeline when it came to like when Twitter was really trying to do podcasting, right? They were going to do podcasting, and then someone took over and then ruined the whole Twitter. But that was what's going to happen. It was like Twitter was going to create a podcasting site so you can, put in your own podcast. That's where I knew. So yeah, it's called Buzzcast.
Buzzcast. All right.
Yep. By Buzzsprout.
All right. See, I'm on Podbean, so I don't really know Buzzcast so much.
Yeah, well, it should have been a Buzz, bro.
I should have. I learned Podbean through work, and it was just sort of easy to use, so I just did it.
But, I get it. I get it.
I should have researched. All right, I'm gonna name one that literally has not been around since 2014.
Okay.
But it was one of my all-time favorite podcasts and has one of my all-time favorite personalities on it. It was called The Bugle, and it had it was Andy. Andy, I forget his last name, but the reason I was drawn to it was it had John Oliver. Before John Oliver was on the Daily Show, he did this, and before he did his HBO show, he did this podcast.
Interesting.
Called The Bugle, and so I was actually a huge John Oliver fan. Before he started doing his before he went on the Daily Show and before he went on to HBO. So I remember when he hit it big, I wanted to be like, kind of like when They Might Be Giants hit it big, right? Like I wanted to be like, hey, I knew you way back when.
I knew you back when.
I deserve like special access. I was a fan all along.
Yep. I like it.
So it was the same thing. They talked about current events and just the same sort of just like angry but funny rants, and they stopped doing them in 2014 after John Oliver failed.
Hit it big.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it. Okay, this one is a suggestion that I have listened to, but again I stopped and I'm back on it again. I'm back on a podcast because you know how this goes again. Yeah. You got to give it some time for it to just, Yeah. Because if you listen too much of it, then at that point, then you're like, ugh. Serial.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A classic.
Super good. It's like, I think that was when I got into the whole true crime thing, Serial was the podcast to listen to. Right?
Yeah. And Adnan, what's his face, is out of jail now. Like that, it led to the revisiting of his case. So,
also, kind of messed up, something kind of fucked up. Sorry for the language.
Here we go. Wow, After Dark, Curve Brand After Dark.
There it is. Alcohol and. But
wait a minute. Here, hang on, just a second. Wait, just a moment.
I'm waiting.
Oh, we don't have an overlay that's just you and me. So oh well. I was trying to switch it to the After Dark branding so you could curse, but
so it also makes you think, and you're like, oh my god, people like a lot of people go to jail wrongly accused, or they miss something here and there, and it was just like. Right? Yeah. Like, how can
it's scary because they want to, it's they
want to like
rate, check their boxes. Exactly. Yeah. They don't care about justice is what you walk away with. And it's scary. It's scary.
Heck yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Okay. All right.
I am getting ready. Yeah, that's right. Getting ready for the Brockmeyer podcast.
So nice. Hey, so to bring it back to the less serious side of things for me, the guys from Always Sunny in Philadelphia do one called the Always Sunny podcast. They're doing a rewatch of their own show as well. So
I like that. I should probably watch. I have not watched a lot of the episodes of Always Sunny.
There's they've been around for like 16 seasons. There's a lot of episodes. But if you want to get started on that show, you don't have to watch it all in order, right? Like there's not like a whole like developing storyline. It's just three, it's like 5 people being goofy and off color. But if you ever want to get started on Always Sunny, I can recommend some episodes to you that are just absolutely classic.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I got one that I'm going to want to start listening to because I love the show and the show is hilarious.
Okay.
But my wife doesn't like to watch it with me because it's awkward, funny. But The Office.
Oh yeah, okay.
I've got to find a podcast for The Office because man, I love that show.
I think there is one.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. There's a couple that are hosted by like characters themselves from the show, I believe. So
Mayagüez,
somebody
just one.
Somebody there you go. Indios.
Thank you, Zach.
That logo is an interesting story, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I like the fact that I had him on and we talked about that one because because of the name, right?
Right.
And people are automatically think, I was like, oh, it was done the right way. It was done the right way.
Yeah, they were hesitant about it. Like they were sort of hesitant about like dipping their toe into that, but
they're like, no.
Yeah,
we embrace Puerto Ricans here. We embrace the name Indios in a different way.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. So you had Jason Klein on, and that's the episode that we're talking about. There was Jason Klein of Brandiose.
Yep.
And you have some other developments with some other designers who you may be having on soon. So
listen,
I'm not trying to give anything away, but
no, we can't because I mean
some big name designers coming down the pipeline.
I'm very excited, dude. I'm telling you, I'm super pumped about this one. You don't know how pumped I am.
I believe it, man. It's
oh my god, I'm super pumped. I love it. So I can't wait.
So here's the thing. I feel like I have named all of the non-baseball podcasts that are in my rotation that I have subscribed to.
Okay. I do have a couple of sports one, but that are not baseball related.
Okay. Well, I can tell you there was one other one that hasn't been around for a long time. It stopped in 2016, and it was called How to Do Everything.
Interesting.
And it was an NPR podcast, just basically about like, it was kind of sort of lighthearted, but it was also sort of just like, okay, today we're going to get into like building cabinets or whatever. And here's how, and like, it was, so it was, that was a bad example.
Yeah. Cause building cabinets, let me tell you.
How to rescue a deer that's stuck in ice was one of their episodes.
Okay. I can do that.
Pranks for Father's Day.
Yes.
How to start a fire when you don't have any wood. So like this sort of thing. So that was around. I listened to it for a long time. They were pretty short episodes, but it was they went away in 2016.
Bastards.
I thought every podcast just lived forever. I don't like the idea that they might go away.
I know. I was like, oh, we're going to stop.
Yeah.
I like short podcasts if there is a beginning and an end.
Right.
I don't like it that all of a sudden they stopped.
Boop, gone.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to end it, give us a final episode. Say, hey, this is our final episode. So now there's a finality to it, right? Like, I mean, but some of them just end it, and I don't like it.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. All right.
I got a couple here that are, one is baseball, but is murder based, but the other one is ESPN fantasy.
Okay.
Right.
All right. It's fair.
For fantasy football, listen to it just so I can get some ideas, some waiver wire picks and things like that. So I like that one. The other one is called Wesley by Tom Rinaldi.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. Is he doesn't go into his career. He goes into the way he was murdered, into the whole thing of him getting murdered. First baseball player, crazy good. So I highly recommend it. I mean, it was only let me see. It was 8 episodes. So definitely you guys should take a look at it because, man, let me tell you.
Yeah.
One player has ever been murdered during the baseball season, and it was him.
Oof. That's wild. That's crazy. I would like to hear that story.
Yeah, you should definitely take a look at it because, see?
The TED Radio Hour that Darla mentions is actually in my podcasts, but I haven't subscribed to it for a long time. But that was one I subscribed to for a little bit.
Yep.
So
I like it.
Okay. I've got one. I've got a sports one that I listen to. It's not going to surprise you. I like it because of the production quality. I think it's very funny.
Okay.
I like the sort of pace of it. I don't know that it's going to appeal to everyone on this group because it is very much Philadelphia based. It's called Let's Go to the Phones, and it is a Philadelphia sports podcast.
Oh, there ain't nothing wrong with that.
I like it because it's like
I won't listen to it, but nothing wrong with that.
It's a send up of like all the tropes, right? Like it's a send up of just like the caller who, has the inside track on information and knows exactly what's going to happen this week. And like,
that kind of, I gotcha.
They're sort of like making fun of sports broadcasters almost. They're like parodies of sports broadcasters. And so it's a funny one to listen to.
I like it. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah,
I don't have anything else right now on my queue.
Okay.
I actually, a couple of weeks ago, I should have not done this, but a couple of weeks ago, I went through my queue of podcasts that I don't listen to anymore, and I deleted them. You know how this goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to, we'll see. I like to do other podcasts. You know what I also do it for, to be honest with you? I get ideas
while you run. Oh yeah, it's true. Well, you got to, right? Like if you produce a podcast, you'd be silly not to like listen to podcasts as part of your. So I actually don't listen to nearly as much music as I used to listen to because I'm listening to podcasts so much. And
the only time I listen to music is when I have to, Darla and me on the car or anything like that. But if I go running, it's either an audio book. You know what? Next week, books. There we go.
Audiobooks. All right. Okay. Baseball books or whatever books.
Whatever books.
I'm going to talk about The Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah, I know you are. But yeah, we're like I listen to podcasts or audiobooks or anything like that. That's how I go running. I know it's kind of weird, or when I'm driving to work. Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. Hey, I want to ask you. About. This is not podcast related, but we've got about 10 minutes left, and there's been a little bit of news in the world of branding in minor league baseball.
Okay.
We have so there are three new things that I will ask you about. I'll start with the one that I think is kind of the most fun.
Okay.
And different.
Okay.
Is the Hickory Crawdads.
Yep.
Have unveiled an alternate brand that they're going to wear for 3 games in August, and they are the Hickory Dickory Docks. And they've got a logo that is a clock with a little baseball pendulum and a sort of angry face. And there is a mouse running up the clock. The clock strikes 1. The mouse runs down. Hickory Dickory Dock. First of all, I have a question for you because you have a child. You have a small child who I'm sure is into nursery rhymes.
Yep.
I don't know if you've busted out Hickory Dickory Dock with your child. I'm curious to know in the chat here.
We have busted it up.
Okay. I have seen this 2 ways. It could be that each verse is the mouse. The mouse runs up. The clock strikes 2, the mouse runs down. Or I've seen it so that there are different animals for each time. So it's like the mouse runs up, the clock strikes 1, a snake runs up and the clock strikes 2, and a cat runs up and the clock strikes 3. And so I've seen it both ways. I've seen mouse, 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 and then I've seen different animals. Which one do you go with when you're singing to Mia?
Mouse.
Mouse, 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 mouse.
Yep.
Always the mouse? Okay.
Always the mouse. Here's the thing.
Okay. All right.
About this rebrand.
Okay.
Oh, well, not rebrand because it's
an alternate
identity.
Yeah.
and I was talking to this with Mike Sellers and Eric Prophet.
Okay. Yeah.
Why would they pick the San Diego Padres colors?
It is very interesting that they've got like the brown and the yellow going on when they are a Texas Rangers affiliate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Which is, I mean, it's an interesting note that you make, and it's sort of a segue into to another alternate brand that I was going to bring up, and in fact is possibly part of your heritage, part of your culture here, not Puerto Rico, but Cleveland. The Akron Rubber Ducks.
Oh yeah,
they
the sauerkraut balls.
The sauerkraut balls.
Yes,
which
good. So good
is sauerkraut. I learned this morning as I was writing this article for sportslogos.net. Sauerkraut and pork mashed up into a ball, breaded and fried.
Deep fried. Yes.
Deep fried. Okay. Sorry. So, and then in this logo, it's being dipped into like a red sauce that has like some little white flecks in it. So Ed, tell us first of all about this. Let
me tell you, balls. If you have not had sauerkraut ball,
I have not.
You should. Okay. It is delicious.
Okay.
Right. Crunchy on the outside, gooey on the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Delicious. Okay. I don't use any sauce or anything like that. I just,
down the hatch.
Yep. Down the hatch it goes. Yeah. So they're,
Okay.
So, but definitely everybody should try it. I saw a couple of comments on there on when it was like, when it was announced, it's like, are we sure is the sauerkraut ball, or you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Guys, it's fun. Definitely should try it. Akron did the JoJo's last year. This year they're doing the sauerkraut balls. I actually love the fact that like Akron, the Rubber Ducks are doing something every year, something different to embrace, the culture in Cleveland. So all for it.
All right. It's a fun food brand for sure. And the logo is just a really smiley, happy sauerkraut ball with arms. So, okay, here, Mike has some.
Mike is not a sauerkraut kind of guy.
So,
although he likes to eat that god awful
Skyline chili. Yeah. I'm guessing then Mike would not be a fan of the Montgomery kimchi.
Oh my God, dude, you're killing me. By the way, I want some kimchi.
But that Rubber Ducks sauerkraut balls logo also has some Padres colors to it, right? Like it's got the yellow and the brown going on. So
I think everybody's like the popularity of the Padres. Like, why not? Sure. Let's do it.
Just ride that train.
I would.
All right, one more not alternate brand, but new brand. From a collegiate summer level team, the Pineville Porcupines.
Oh, from the North Carolina.
Yeah,
League.
Yeah,
the old North Carolina League.
Yeah, the Carolina State League. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, it's cute. It's adorable.
Yeah, very prickly.
Okay, very prickly. It's got the pine trees. It's they're announcing their presence with authority out here with the whole like we've got the best logo in collegiate summer.
What are we in Bull Durham?
Hey, you've already cursed, so I'm gonna go ahead and curse too. But I had my running buddy Chris. Actually, here goes Pat. You knew he would know this.
Pat was coming with it.
But I apparently use the phrase very frequently. I'll say, it's what in the Christ is this happy horse shit? And finally, Chris was just like, where's that from? And I'm like, I don't remember. And I was like, I think maybe it was from Stripes. I was like, I can't remember what that was from. So I actually Googled it after the run. It's from Shawshank Redemption.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Great movie.
A great movie. Great movie. Apparently I repeat that line. I think that line is pretty funny. So, but yeah, so the Pineville Porcupines, I don't know who did their logo. I bet you Pat Larson does. But it's not, it's not one of the big ones. I don't think it's not a Dan Simon or a Brandios or a Fooster Sports.
I got to get with them because I've been trying to get them on the, because it's like, they're all doing a rebrand of their logos. All of them. They're all rebranding.
Eric is waiting for the Juicy Lucy's. He's just poking the bear here, poking the bear.
Come on, Eric.
Ed missed out on the Juicy Lucy's between games and the Twin Cities twin billing, and
son of a
dingleberry. I'm sure we'll go to two baseball games in Minnesota someday again.
Yeah, we will.
People are not happy about the Bees moving to the burbs there. They've got this beautiful ballpark with this beautiful view, and I mean, I understand there are some extenuating circumstances here, but it's a shame, it's a shame that Smith's ballpark's going away because it's right downtown. It's a cool part of town, and so
mark my words.
Yeah,
that team is going to rebrand.
Yeah.
They're going to rebrand.
I would not be surprised.
I've been on their site. There's a lot of hats and stuff, a lot of stuff that's on sale.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I got to get some of that because I love that brand. I love the Bees brand.
Yeah, I know. I saw it in there and I'm like, oh, man.
Maybe they could be the Bees with a Z.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a rebrand.
Yeah.
And then their new Bee character could have sunglasses.
I like their Bee character.
I know their Bee
doesn't need to change.
No, he's adorable. It's a great logo.
When just like, you got an old logo and it's like it's still iconic to this day.
Yeah.
Don't change the logo because
it's a well-designed old logo that stands the test of time is so great.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that with Pat Larson's dad hat. Pat Larson's minor league baseball hat history. With the Mighty Muscles, when they were the Miracle before, that was
should have stayed the Miracle.
I think the Miracle was Dan Simon's first ever logo that he designed. It was just first or a second. Yeah, it was a very, very early Dan Simon brand.
I still wish they would have been.
I know. I like that Miracle logo.
Because man, oh man. Yeah, see, I'm on their website right now, guys. Their 920s are $15.
Oof. What's a 920 again? Is that us? Is that that's what you have there? Okay,
that's us. Yeah,
I remember you saying that you like the 920s these days.
The new one,
the new 920s,
the new 920s, not the old 920s.
Okay.
But yeah, you're talking about they got $15 for some 920s. So I might be picking up a couple ones here and there.
I would like a yellow Salt Lake Bees hat.
They have only the SL. They don't have the one with the B, which is kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
I want the B, but they don't. All they have in the B's are the fitted ones.
I have a black Bees hat that I got there at the ballpark itself.
Oh my god! Thanks, babe. That has Shopping Network. Yeah, I got to be in the know when it comes to these things. Okay.
I am looking forward to taking a road trip with Darla. I have a feeling that Darla is hilarious.
Oh yeah. The old Burlington reminded me of the Cheerio cereal.
So you know what's funny? A thing that I have done before, and I finally just gave up on it because it was just like you couldn't keep up with it. People selling on eBay Binghamton, because I used to just have a saved search for minor league baseball stuff, and I finally had to stop that because I wanted to buy directly from the teams. But people would sell Binghamton Mets gear with Buddy the Bee. And they always got it wrong. They always said it was the Burlington Bees because they just they didn't know the logos and they were just sort of guessing. They saw a bee with a B on it.
Yeah.
And so I remember one time I totally got into it with this guy. I was just like, that's the Binghamton Mets, not the Burlington Bees. And he's like, yeah, right. Whatever. Like the Mets would have a B logo. And so I decided to have he was giving and he wouldn't change the listing. And so just because I was just I was going to be antagonistic about it, I had everyone I knew who was on eBay message the person saying they were interested in the hat, but could you confirm that it's the Binghamton Mets because they had never seen that Mets logo, or that it was the Burlington Bees because they had never seen that Burlington Bees. And his responses to them just got less and less sure. Every time he's like, well, I thought it was. And he's like, well, I guess it's not. I guess I should research this. And
probably should.
Yeah. And then it finally changed and I messaged him back. I was just like, oh, I see you finally changed. I don't know why that became such a
I'll give you $2.
Yeah. And this is why I wake up at 3:30 in the morning staring at the ceiling sometimes, I think. So. Ed, it's 8 o'clock in the fake mountain time zone here.
Oh, it is 10 o'clock over here, my friend.
Yeah.
As I am shopping for some hats here. Who do you have coming up next week? Well, actually, this week and next week.
Well, so this week, as we've discussed, I have the Montgomery biscuits, and that was fun. I got to interview my friend Elizabeth, who is a pastry chef, and she is great and a good friend and fun to talk to. Next week, I have the spearfish Sasquatch.
Ooh,
and we'll talk about that. And I have a gentleman named Jeremiah from the Bigfoot Society podcast who's going to come on and talk about Bigfoot.
Can we get the spearfish to get some dad hats?
I'll ask him about it. I will Please. Ask him about it. Paul, the eBay bully is right.
So, get off my lawn.
Right. How about you? Who's coming up for you?
Next week, I actually have, sorry guys, but I'm going curling on this episode. Triangle curling. There's a club here in North Carolina, based out of Durham. Yeah. We're going to talk about the rules of curling, and the popularity of it. So yeah, we're going to do some curling next week. I'm excited for that.
I've actually been listening to this episode with Shane on the Earn Fun Average podcast. That's been fun. So curling is great. Will you promise me that at the beginning of the podcast, you know how sometimes I'll drop like a little quote from a movie or something in there? There is a Spinal Tap song. In the movie Spinal Tap, they do like a very quick little song about curling where they just say, curling, curling, let's all go bloody curling. I think
if you send it to me, I'll put it on.
I will send you the audio file. Nice.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I love it, guys.
Anna DiTomaso is not here, but this week on the baseball bucket list, she's actually got Jason Bateman and Will Arnett. She's doing a reunion with the guys from Arrested Development.
I like it. It's great.
Yeah, so great job that's a good get by Anna. Yeah, it's really good.
Congratulations.
Really good. And then Anna's going to be a guest on Smart List next week, so they're doing a whole home and home series. Yeah,
Anna taking off.
Yeah, she's doing great.
We're going right back to Dad Hat by Design because Anna's going to be leaving us. All right. Well, hey guys. Until next week is over.
Next week,
the fun is over, guys. The fun's over. No more. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, hey, bye.
Bye. That's what they do.